and good morning. I am Tracy Blakeney, and I'd like to welcome you to Bucksmont Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's multi-platform worship where, moved by love, we share lifelong journeys of growth, wonder, and healing, nurturing wholeness in society and spirit, creating a community of justice and compassion. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us online and in person today, members, friends, and those who may be newcomers to our community this morning. If you are new to Bucksmont and visiting us in person today, please stop by our visitor center in the front hallway near where you came in. There you can also make a name tag and find more information about Unitarian Universalism, Bucksmont, and upcoming events. If you'd like a hymnal or a printed order of service, those are available near the entrance to the sanctuary. If you are visiting us online or prefer digital methods, please email our office administrator, Beverly, to sign up for our email newsletter and to get connected to our congregation. Each week in our service, we offer time for people to share a joy or sorrow from their lives by texting a phone number. That number will be shared in the chat box for those online and on screen for everyone now and later in the service. If you would like to see the order of service about the upcoming services and other ways to gather with our community, you can find them on the homepage of our website, bucksmontuu.org. There is a lot happening at Bucksmont, and we'd like to highlight these announcements in particular. Religious education for children and youth begins after we sing our youngest community members to their classes and concludes at 11:45. Pre-K and elementary RE will be meeting downstairs this week after time for all ages. Nursery care is available for families with the little ones 3 and under. They are invited to drop off or stay and play in the nursery as needed, and they may use the play spaces in the sanctuary and the social hall as well. You may have noticed that it gets a bit warmer than usual here in the sanctuary on hot days. One of the 2 air conditioning units for the sanctuary has broken beyond repair. After about 23 years of faithful service, your Facilities Management Committee is evaluating estimates for replacement and will let the congregation know when the new air conditioning system will be scheduled for installation. The fellowship office will be closed Tuesday, June 6th and Friday, June 9th. A reminder that after our service concludes today, we will be regathering in the sanctuary for our annual meeting. Folks online and people here are invited to participate, and in fact, we need you here to meet our quorum. Our annual picnic is next Sunday, June 11th, from 11:45 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Susie Hook Celebration Garden. There would be live music, great food, and lots of fun. There will also be games for both children and adults. We would love to see you there. And Sunday, June 18th, will be our annual flower communion, celebrating the 100th anniversary of this tradition. Please bring a flower to share that morning, or if you are joining us from home, bring a flower on Saturday to vases near the main entrance. Whether you are a guest, friend, or member, we are glad you are part of our worship service on this glorious June day.
As we gather in our sanctuary, in our homes, or watch from mobile screens almost anywhere, we are all together. Those watching now on Sunday and those who may be watching months from now, we are joined together for worship across both space and time. This is a free, creedless religious congregation in the discipline of truth and the spirit of universal kinship. We join together in a cooperative quest for religious and ethical values, seeking to apply these values to the development of character, enrichment of the spirit, and service to all. You are welcome here, whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever the color of your skin or your country of origin, no matter your gender expression or gender identity, whatever your age, however you define family, wherever you are at this time, and whatever the source of your faith, you are welcome here.
This morning, as we do each time we gather, we kindle our Unitarian Universalist chalice. We do so today with words from Jan Richardson. You can prepare, but still it will come to you by surprise, crossing through your doorway, calling your name in greeting. It will astonish you how wide your heart will open in welcome. For the joy that finds you so ready and still so unprepared. Please light your chalice at home. Our common chalice is now lit.
Our opening hymn is number 304, A Fierce Unrest. Please rise as you're willing and able and join in singing this strong song. A fierce unrest beats at the core of all existing things. It was the eagle wish to soar that gave the gods their wings. There throbs through all the worlds that are a heartbeat hot and strong, and shaken systems star by star awake and glow in song. But for the urge of this unrest, these joyous fears are mute. But for the rebel in our breast, and we remained as brutes. When baffled lips demanded speech, speech trembled into birth. One day the lyric world shall reach from earth to having earth. From deep to dream, from dream to deed, from daring hope to hope. The restless wish, the instant need, still drove us up the slope. Sing, we know governs firmament, cold-ordered, regular. We sing the stinging discontent that leaps from star to star.
Falls from clouds in the sky, the sun appears, making everything bright. Raindrops caught in a sunny beam, a rainbow shimmers like ink. The moon is full, but then it's gone, chased away by the dawn. Stars that shine all through the night disappear in morning's light. These tigers.
Everything changes, night to day. Everything changes, and that's okay. We eat an apple, then plant the seeds, water carefully, pull up the weeds. A tree grows tall and strong. Shiny new apples appear before long. A yellow dandelion flower slowly withers hour by hour, becoming fluffy seeds of white, finally floating out of sight. Has anyone ever blown a dandelion? Yeah, the white ones are, yeah. Everything changes day to night. Everything changes, and that's all right. A kitten who loves to chase and scrounge becomes a cat who lives to lounge. Does anyone have an old cat? Does anyone have a little cat? Yeah. A puppy, just like a puppy who wants to play, grows into a dog who sleeps all day. We read a book and turn each page, learn more each day as we age. Black hair slowly turns to gray. Wrinkles come that won't go away. Everything changes, this is true. Everything changes, even you. A new school might feel real strange. Friendships sometimes rearrange. Your best friends may move away, but new friends will come to stay. You build a sandcastle all day, then a wave washes it away. Your favorite game becomes a bore. You don't want to play it anymore. That seems sad, but it happens. Everything changes. It's the natural way. Everything changes, and that's okay. You might feel sad for quite a while. Then something happens that makes you smile. You feel embarrassed and close your eyes, but then confidence returns, a nice surprise. Morning comes with the yellow sun, the hours pass and the day is done. Everything changes day to night, everything changes, and that's all right. Stars shine brightly, sharp and clear, then fade away when morning's near. Everything changes night to day, everything changes, and that's okay. Thank you. I will see you downstairs soon.
And before we go to our class today, in the theme of Everything Changes, this is Barbara's last time doing our Time for All Ages as our RE coordinator, which she has been amazing at this program year. So if you want to come up here for just a sec. I have a small gift, and I just wanted to take this moment to thank you so much for leading our program this year in a magical way and making things happen and just showing up every week to make this happen all year long. So thank you very much. And now we can sing the kids to their classes.
Go in love. As you go on your way, may you be filled with gladness. Go enjoy, go enjoy. May fortune bless your day with peace and loving kindness. Go in love, go in love.
The offering in liberal religion is a vital part of our history of faith. As a covenanted community, people who freely choose to be here, our voluntary giving is symbolic of that freedom of choice. Each week at Bucksmont, we share our offering with a different cause or organization in the community. For the month of June, we are sharing with Red, Wine, and Blue. Not political? No problem. In fact, it's perfect. Red, Wine, and Blue empowers women to reach out to their own circles. Talking to people you know is up to 20 times more effective than talking with a stranger. We're proud of our communities. We want kids to grow up with their freedom intact in a place where everyone is welcomed and treated with respect. We ask that you participate in our morning offering in one of these ways. You can write a check to Bucksmont and mail it into the fellowship. You may donate online now or at the end of the service, or you may place your donation into one of the baskets as they are passed. We will now receive the morning offering. Our community continues to grow and thrive due to generous donations of both time and money for the many ways that you contribute and how it sustains the fellowship. We are truly grateful. This morning's reading is the original Principles of the Unitarian Universalist Association, as approved when the Unitarian and Universalist denominations consolidated in 1961. So, for some historical perspective. In accordance with these corporate purposes, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Association, dedicated to the principles of a free faith, unite in seeking to strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth as the foundation of our religious fellowship, to cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. To affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of the democratic method in human relationships. To implement our vision of the world by striving for a world community founded on ideals of brotherhood, justice, and peace. To serve the needs of member churches and fellowships, to organize new churches and fellowships, and to extend and strengthen liberal religion. And last, to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land.
awake. Change us now for heaven's sake. Leave us not alone at hatred's gate. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how. Show us how to love.
Hearts open, souls awake. Rules we made, we now must break with our very own lives at stake. We must learn to love. We must learn to love. We must learn. We must learn to love. Eyes open, shocked, awake, much to learn from our mistakes. Draw us closer in our heartache. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how. Show us how to
Today, after our service, we will hold our congregation's annual meeting. Some may be excited about this, some confused, and others a bit meh on the whole thing. However you feel, annual meetings are one way we put our tradition of congregational self-governance into practice. We call it polity. And the way Congregationalist traditions sort out things at a national level is at, you guessed it, at a national annual meeting of congregations. We call that meeting each year by the very creative name, General Assembly. I'll be mentioning that quite a bit throughout the sermon. Important work happens at local congregational meetings and national general assemblies every year. Sometimes we change bylaws, we elect leaders, we socialize, we remember and recognize those who make our association and our congregations possible. They are part business meeting, part party, and part practiced democracy and debate. Some years, special things occur at our national meeting. Like our next General Assembly later this month in Pittsburgh, there are two big things happening along with many, many other more normal things. First, a new UUA president will be elected. UUA presidents serve 6-year terms. The president elected at this year's General Assembly will be the 11th since 1961, a year that is important to the story in a moment. And the second, even more rare thing that is happening this June will be a vote on revising our UU principles. This is required to be considered at least every 15 years. Why? In order to prevent our principles from becoming codified into a creed that cannot be changed. So when Unitarian Universalists gather, whether locally or nationally, we get to decide who we are and what we represent together. We talk about things a lot. We vote on other things. This isn't how things are done in many religious traditions, but it is how we've chosen to make decisions together since 1961, that year again. Most of you may know this, but to remind us and to share it with those who are new to our tradition, Unitarian Universalism became a single tradition with a very long name in 1961, which so happens to be the same year this congregation was founded. So both Unitarian Universalism and Bucksmont turned 62 this year. Prior to 1961, there were two traditions represented by the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church in America. The meetings that preceded this important joining happened in Syracuse, New York. There were lots of details to discuss, of course. What would the national structure be? How would ministers be called? What about the money and organizations present in the two separate traditions? Which word would go first in the new name? The former UUA president, John Bieran's UU history text, recounts an anecdote from David Park, a Unitarian minister who arrived in Syracuse and inquired of a policeman as to where the Unitarians and Universalists were meeting. The cop shrugged. There are some Ukrainians meeting in that hotel. More than 60 years later, our very long name is still not something that many people know by and large. I'm okay with this because our name isn't the most important part of who we are. Our values are what turn our religion from a noun into a verb. It is more important to know what it is we are called to do in this world and find those who are interested in partnering with us in that work than whether they know what UU stands for. That comes later. So then what are we called to do as a people? And has that changed in 60 plus years? I think we can start with the second question, which is a little easier to answer on the surface. Yes, we have changed as a tradition since 1961, particularly in how we describe what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. We heard Tracy read the original principles of the UUA as approved at consolidation in 1961. They are particularly gendered, using words like men and brotherhood as catch-all terms for all human beings, which sounds off to us in this present moment. And the second principle might be the most important one in terms of there being a Unitarian Universalist association at all. The original second principle was to cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. The precise wording had been a matter of such heated debate that it nearly derailed the merger at the concurrent but separate preparatory sessions of the two denominations the year before. The contention revolved around whether to include such phrases as love to God and love to man, and a reference to our Judeo-Christian heritage. A compromise version, including a critical change from our heritage to the heritage, was finally hammered out in an all-day, all-night parliamentary negotiation and debate. Does this sound familiar to our culture, even then? One word made enough of a difference to bring people together. From 1961 until 1985, we kept our original 6 principles, but the 1985 principles had years of work behind them as well. In the 1970s, the sexist language in the original principles became a focus of a movement to reform them. In 1981, a first version of revised principles was presented at that year's General Assembly. And 4 years later, with many changes, conversations, committees, commissions, and votes, we arrived at a set of 7 principles and 5 sources. Some may be wondering if I just made a mistake by saying that in 1985 we adopted a set of 7 principles and 5 sources. Aren't there 6 sources, though? The 7 sources have remained unchanged since 1985. An aside, that is the year I was born. But our sources are another matter. Today there are 6, but originally there were only 5. It took 10 years before our 6th source, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature, was added in 1995. Since that change, there has only been one other. In 2017, to our 2nd source, we changed the beginning from words and deeds of prophetic men and women to our present 2nd source, which reads in full, words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. So what is going on in 2023 with our principles? Over the past 2 years, a UUA-appointed commission of 7 people have held thousands of conversations and feedback sessions. In particular, they sifted through almost 11,000 survey responses and more than 4,500 participants' feedback at feedback sessions, which have continued to be worked and reworked into a revision to Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws. Article 2 of the bylaws is where our principles live officially. This is why you may or may not have heard the phrase Article 2 buzzing around UU circles recently. This is the section that contains our association's covenant, our purpose, and our aspirations as a faith tradition. They are presently articulated as our 7 principles and 6 sources. The charge to this group from the UUA board was to work in love as a principal guide to their work, attending particularly to the ways that we have understood and articulated love and how we have acted out of love. Later this month, the first of 2 votes will occur on our revised UU values for Article 2. And then, if that vote is affirmational, next June, at our General Assembly then, the vote would occur on whether to formally adopt them. The approach taken by the Commission was to offer us a set of single-word values that articulate what we share as Unitarian Universalists, which can serve as touchstones for our tradition. Those words are, I will read them: interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice, all surrounding the central value of love. The proposal is for our principles and purposes to become our values and covenant, which would read, as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish Earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. And equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. So we would have 6 interrelated values with love at the center. But what about our 6 sources? The idea of the Commission is that no set of sources will be complete. We've seen that in the addition of a 6th source and editing our 2nd source. There has also been a grassroots movement to add an 8th principle. There have been calls to edit our 1st principle. There have also been calls to make our set of 6 sources more inclusive by naming traditions such as Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism, as we do Judaism, Christianity, humanism, and earth-centered traditions presently. There is no exhaustive list of sources that would hold all that our members draw upon. Instead, there is a revised area called Inspirations, which reads, as Unitarian Universalists, we use and are inspired by sacred and secular understandings that help us to live into our values. We respect the histories, contexts, and cultures in which they were created and are currently practiced. These sources ground us and sustain us in ordinary, difficult, and joyous times. Grateful for the religious ancestries we inherit and the diversity which enriches our faith, we are called to ever deepen and expand our wisdom. When you leave the service today, printouts will be available in a basket by the sanctuary entrance of the full text of the currently proposed revision to Article 2. And the conversation is not over. Amendments are still being considered, so what will be voted on later in June in Pittsburgh may look a bit different than what I'm discussing today. Several members of this congregation and members of many, many congregations have been actively engaged in this process to help articulate what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist today and in the future. I've spent a lot of time on what is timely in Unitarian Universalism, but what is timeless? When the Board of Trustees of the UUA created the Article 2 Study Commission, the board also shared this reflection on what lies at the core of Unitarian Universalism. In calling for this commission to root itself in a shared core theological value, we, the board, are asking the question, What is it that lies behind the statements of principles that we agree to as our common associational points of covenant? What lies beneath the principles on which a commission can re-envision and re-articulate the ideas that are expressed concurrently in our existing principles and include, potentially, other ideas put forth to be considered for that related covenant? Asserting that there is such a commonality is bold. It potentially flies in the face of the Commission on Appraisal's 2005 report engaging our theological diversity, which failed to identify such a core in its conclusion. We hold that the Commission did not fail to identify that core, only to recognize it at the time as our theological core. In its report, it cites Robert Miller's study of Unitarian Universalism, stating, UUs ranked loving as an instrumental value and mature love as a terminal value more highly than did respondents from other groups, religious and non-religious. UUs were more likely, even before 2005, to assert the importance of love than any other group, religious or non-religious. And this was before the campaign now known as Side with Love began. Since that time, we have seen and heard expressions of love and displays of love in action by UUs. We, the board, assert that our deepest common theological grounding and value is this: love. We find it peeking through the words of our currently existing principles. We see it in our insistence of the worth and dignity of every person, and the calls by some that this insistence needs to extend to all other beings as well. We see it in the call for demanding and embodying justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We hear it in our urging of acceptance of one another and our support for each other's personal spiritual growth. We discern an accountable love in our call for a responsible search for truth and meaning. Our affirmation of the right of conscience and the right of every individual to participate in shaping those institutions that govern them displays a deep respect and love for every person. We hold up the goal of a peaceful, free, and just world community as an expression of what love can and should bring into being. And we believe that our call to respect the interdependent web that we are all part of is an articulation of love for all that is and our own place and role in that web. We see love called out as what demands that we be active in our justice work and justice making. We note that our hymnals contain many assertions of what we aspire to and what love can do and be. Let us build a home where love can dwell. Love will guide us, and we are answering the call of love among them. We respond to the call of love because it is our common theological core. It is what can and does motivate us and illuminates our deepest commitments to each other. Love is a through line from the much debated second principle of the UUA in 1961 to the most recently edited second source. What is Unitarian Universalism? What does it mean to practice Unitarian Universalism? How do we articulate it to ourselves and to those who have no idea what we are called? We are a people who center love, and surrounding our commitment to love are the values of justice, interdependence, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and equity. I think that sums it up nicely, don't you? So might it be.
Since what we choose is
Let us now enter into a time of awareness within ourselves and connection beyond boundaries, connection to one another, to that interdependent web of life of which we are each but one small thread. As we breathe in, we are connected. As we breathe out, we are connected. This morning, may we consider together what it means to center love within our tradition, our communities, and ourselves. I share the poem Love by Enfleshed. Love cannot be bought or sold. It does not make a profit. Love does not hide from truth. Love dives deep. Love takes on flesh. Love is queer. Love is platonic. Love is erotic. Love is asexual. Love confronts evil. Love delights in pleasure. Love touches and weeps and flirts and feeds and creates. Love is risky. Love challenges systemic evil and all its forms. Love is simple, but not easy. Love is collective. Love rises up. Love apologizes. Love believes. Love corrects. Love holds accountable. Love pays reparations. Love heals. Love tells its story. Love embraces everyone, every creature, every creation. It knows us intimately. It holds us collectively. Love transcends every boundary that seeks to confine it. It will not tolerate violence in its name. It does no harm. It only sets free. As we breathe in, we are connected. As we breathe out, we are connected. May our minds create a vision of the world radical enough to be called holy. May our actions contain the promise of hope and the commitment to justice. May our hearts remember that love is a power that resists all forms of fear. By our thoughts, by our actions, by our hearts, and by our very breath, may it be so.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing out praises for the journey of change, hymn number 295. Sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searches for the soul's deep yearnings, like our forebears in their time. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside our souls, the kindling of the heart fire pilgrims new. Find the Spirit always restless, find it in each mind and heart. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a new-found truth. Stand we now upon the threshold
As part of our caring outreach to one another, we set aside a few moments to note both the sorrows and the joys in our lives. In these moments of peace and reflection, we turn our attention to one another. We hold each and all in our compassionate thoughts and the prayers of our hearts. This morning, we are dropping stones into water. The bowl includes some of the water we gathered as a community back in September, so it contains the love of our congregation, which surrounds each joy or sorrow. As we add the stones to the bowl of water, our experiences are given weight and depth. We add a piece of our own stories to the collective waters of this community, a place that also holds the memories of those who have gone before and anticipates those who have yet to arrive. To share the joy or sorrow you would like held by our caring community, please text the number that is in the chat box if you are online and on the sanctuary screens. Please include your name along with your sharing. It is the same number no matter how you gather with us today, and you can add it to your contacts for future weeks. I will read them aloud, and Tracy will drop a stone on your behalf. What is shared today will go out into our weekly caring notes for those who cannot be with us this morning. Please remember to include your name with what you share. And now we will add a final stone for all of the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken and deep within our hearts. With stones gathered and remembrances shared, we honor our joys and our sorrows, those shared this morning and the many, many more that exist beyond words. Through our time together, our relationships are deepened and our community made whole.
I can see why Kevin wanted to end with "Love Will Guide Us." So let's sing it to him. Okay, please rise as you're willing and able, and we'll sing Sally Rogers' "Love Will Guide Us."
Okay. Our chalice extinguishing words this morning are from Krista Taves. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us together, in our hearts, minds, and spirits. Amen and blessed be.
Before our benediction, a brief reminder that after our service concludes, we will be regathering in the sanctuary for our annual meeting, those that are in person. Folks online and in person are invited to participate. And of course, we need that ever-important quorum to proceed. As our community departs from this service, may we remember all who came before. May we imagine all who will come after. May we honor all who are present with us here and now. In our time together, we create this community, one of promise, one of commitment, one of love. In our time together, may each of us become a sanctuary for all we meet on the journey. May we go together now and return again.